This episode has been brought to you by Manscaped. The new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is every man's cheat code to look good, feel good, and turn the page on confidence this year. Go to manscaped.com, use the code GOLTS20 for 20% off plus free shipping today. This week on the Heart of the Gulch YouTube Show, we sit down with Morgan Huelsman, content creator and digital director for the Bobby Bones radio show. In today's Walk the Line episode, we follow Morgan as she goes to the Sore Losers podcast hosted at the Florida Georgia Linehouse. Let's check out the episode. We are in the Heart of the Gulch. My name is Tony Mendoza, your host, and today, well, we got a Wildcat in the building. You know, I got to keep the sounds going and everything. So we got a Wildcat, K-State Wildcat in the building. Not only that, she is a social media specialist. I would honestly say a social media guru, but also she is the digital director for the Bobby Bones Show, aka Morgan number 2. We got Morgan Huelsman in the building. What's going on?
Wow, it feels like I'm getting introduced on a court like I'm a professional athlete.
I mean, you kind of are, like social media wise.
Yeah, in that respective thing, sure.
Yeah, well, I mean, come on, you do a lot of stuff. How you doing, Morgan?
I'm doing good. It's good to be here.
Well, you know, so I do this with every guest that walks in. I give them the spiel when they walk in the door. And from there, I'm always watching to see y'all's reaction to the studio, because it's like some people are like impressed, and then some people are like, oh, taking me into this apartment complex. It's a little weird.
Well, I did for a second. I was like, is this where I get murdered? Is this where I die?
You know, that's another thing, is that I always want to make sure that whoever's coming into the studio does not feel weird. So I try to cut it off from the jump. But anyways, Morgan, you have been up early today, haven't you?
Yes, it's a long day. We're just keeping the hours going.
My gosh, it was like 7 o'clock when I got an email from you, and I was like, man, she's up ready to go.
I am. I typically wake up about 3 or 3:30 a.m.
No, 3:30?
Yes. If I'm doing good, I'm waking up at 3 so I can make sure I'm getting ready. And if you see me in yoga pants and a sweatshirt on a day, it's because I woke up about 30 minutes later than I planned to. So just depends on the day.
Well, speaking of, you know, starting from the beginning, so Kansas. Mm-hmm. So I haven't met a lot of people from Kansas.
The heartland, yep.
Yeah, I know, and I'm from Texas, so it's kind of weird that I haven't met a lot of people from Kansas.
You've never gone up north.
Oh, I've gone everywhere, but Kansas is just, no offense. No offense to anyone out there.
Anytime somebody says no offense and then they say something, it's always offensive.
It's always disrespect. I know. Mm-hmm. I need to stop doing that. But going up the road from South Texas all the way up to Oklahoma, that's as far as I can take it, because just getting to the middle of Oklahoma to Oklahoma City is like at least 12 hours.
Fair enough.
And there's nothing, nada. There's just flat land. So going to Kansas is challenging, because then you got Oklahoma to get through, and then Kansas.
It's very flat in Kansas, I'll give you that. But it is where home is. It's where my whole family is. And I, you know, as much as I would have loved to be raised in the mountains or on the beach, I wouldn't trade Kansas for anything.
Well, I love to hear it. Now, you know, what area of Kansas? So I know you went to school in Manhattan.
Yes, which I'm surprised you found a Wildcat sound. Impressive. I like it.
Was it the right sound? I was scared to get a cougar sound. I wasn't sure. There was a couple sounds I was picking from.
Honestly, it sounds close enough.
Hey.
But college is a little fuzzy for me when I hear all those sounds.
Yeah, that's how we do it here. Now, Manhattan.
Yes.
What was that like to live in not the New York Manhattan?
Well, it was a little apple, and it was amazing. It was a little college town, and I was in a sorority. Freshman year, I did the dorm life. I was in co-ed dorms. Sophomore year, I lived in a giant sorority house with 55 girls. And junior year, I lived with 5 of my best friends right next to all the bars. So every year, I lived it up in a different way, different variety of college life. And it was awesome. I mean, Manhattan, that whole town is about K-State. It's a college town. And so everywhere you go, everybody's a huge fan, and everybody's just excited and happy to be there. And man, Kansas people, like, I know we get a lot of crap for being a flat state, but Kansas people are just so nice. They're so hard to beat. Like, you could talk to somebody on the side of the street and they'd probably drive you halfway across the country if you were nice about it. And that's just how Kansas people always are. So if there's anything to beat about Kansas. It's how nice everybody is.
So you said sorority. I know what sorority it is, but did you guys have a gang sign that you guys would show up and do? No?
It's not a gang sign,
not a sign.
But it is a sign. It's a straight triangle. I was in Delta, Delta, Delta.
Tri-Delta.
Yep.
Obviously, going to school there, you dabbled in. Were you already into social media? Well, I guess social media wasn't a thing then.
Yeah. Okay. So I studied broadcast journalism. But social media wasn't what social media is now. I was on the very beginning of all of that. And yes, Instagram was there, but we were still creating Finstas, and Instagram was kind of a joke. And you're really just posting to stay in touch with your friends. A lot like Facebook when it first started. There wasn't this huge business capitalism side of social media that had happened yet. Yeah.
I remember YouTube, how like someone would have an amazing video and you're just looking at it like, dude, that video looks amazing, but there were no tutorials.
Yeah, nobody was teaching anybody how to do anything.
And that's what's now, it's kind of nice today, since everyone's so much in the digital world that everyone's willing to somewhat share how to make things better. But when we were going to college, we got none of that.
No.
We just had to be really good at what we did.
Yeah, and you know, my first job out of college, when I got the job with iHeartRadio in my hometown in Wichita, Kansas, I flubbed so hard during that interview process because this was a new role. I was going to be the first one in it for that station and that organization. And I don't even think they at the time knew what that was going to look like and what was going to transpire from that role. All they knew is they needed a graphic designer and they needed somebody to handle social media, website. That was the idea.
That's still a very hard job to get just right off the jump from college, though.
It is. But, you know, it was just crazy that, like, I was not a graphic designer. I don't know if you know this, like when you're in social media world, you really aren't a graphic designer.
Oh yeah, you can't, if I told you to use Photoshop right now or Adobe Illustrator, can you knock it out the park?
Now I can.
Okay, fair.
Yes.
Fair. I still can't.
Well, so it's crazy though, is my oldest sister is a graphic designer.
Okay.
And so I knew I was not a graphic designer. She was incredibly talented. And what I was doing was like bare minimum graphics that I was teaching myself via YouTube tutorials, like this is how I do this, to get that job because I didn't have that skill. But I was like, I got to get this job. I had a connection, I had an end. I was like, so if I'm going to secure this, I basically got to have all these skills, even if I didn't have them coming out of college.
That's a very important thing you just said there. So for the people that are watching this right now that are inspired by you, not only do they hear your voice, but also they see you. You're very active on social media, so shout out to that. I'll give you a wildcat for that. Here we go. But definitely, thank you, Wildcat.
Sassy.
Yeah, a little sassy there. Now, for the people that are watching this, though, that are really interested, social media jobs are a lot more abundant now. But when it comes to someone that's looking to be a part of a social media job, what should they do now to make them a little different from all the other applicants that are, quote unquote, influencers and things like that?
It is very hard to stand out right now, especially with content creation on any level. I think one of my biggest assets that's helped me along the way is that I am not a know-it-all. I'm really good at what I do and I have a lot of skills, but I'm always willing to learn and I'm always willing to say, I don't know that, but I'll figure it out. That was a big part of so much of my career is just, okay, I don't know it, but I got to figure it out. Okay, let's learn a YouTube tutorial. Sometimes I would get asked to do things for the show and I'm like, I don't know how to do that. I'd go home for 4 hours and sit and watch YouTube videos and be like, okay, this is how I'm going to do it. And I figured it out. Or I'd call my people that I know and be like, hey, do you have any experience with this? I was just constantly willing to learn. And I was always open to new ideas, new suggestions. But there's a lot of people out there that don't feel like they have to constantly learn and they can constantly adapt. And so much of my personality has been engraved in, no, you don't get to sit and everything just gets to be comfortable. Tomorrow could be a completely different day and you better be ready for it.
I'm curious. So when did Nashville become a part of your story?
Well, so when I was in college, I was telling all my girlfriends, like, I'm moving to Nashville. There wasn't even I had never been to Nashville before. I had just known a lot about Nashville. I'd grown up in country music. My parents always took us to country concerts, and I'd just been a huge country music fan. And to me, country music was Nashville. And I wanted to be a part of country music somehow, whatever that looked like. And I say that I very young wanted to be a singer, which I'm so glad did not work out for me because I'm a terrible singer. But that was where that started.
So was Drake. And, you know, he turned out to be all right.
I mean, he figured that out. If I could have figured that out, that would have been great.
Yeah, exactly.
But that was where that kind of was born when I was younger, that I really wanted to. But as I kept getting older, even though I didn't want to sing anymore, I still wanted to be in Nashville. So to all my college friends, I was like, yeah, you guys will be visiting me in Nashville someday. I just started talking about it like it was a sure thing. And then I got out of college. I was like, oh, crap, this adulting thing is a lot harder than I thought it was going to be. And for 3 months, I'm sitting there unemployed, and I'm like, I don't know what this is supposed to look like.
That is so normal. How many people leave college and they think they're going to get a job right off the bat? Or and if you're really lucky, if you guys are watching that are still in college or about to exit college, just realize that if you're planning ahead before you graduate, I know I'm not a plan aheader, but if you do it in January, you'll probably won't get that job until June.
Yeah.
So it's kind of crazy when you leave in June or in May and you're like, oh, it's December, I still don't have a job.
Yes.
You start to real feel bad.
Yeah, and maybe it's different outside of the, you know, journalism, digital media world. I'm not sure. Maybe for business people, they get jobs pretty quickly. It looks a little bit differently. But I know for me, when I first got out, I had applied to so many jobs, and ironically, I wanted to be a news reporter, so that's really what I was applying to.
I see that, actually. I can see it.
That was the plan. And then I kind of took a turn, and I was like, okay, news is pretty depressing. I think I need to go a different avenue.
Yeah.
And I had applied to probably 60 plus news reporter jobs, and thinking that was where I was going to go. And I had actually interned for iHeartRadio when I was in college. Interning, I mean, totally was the whole reason for half of my career. It just gave me experiences and connections that I never would have gotten otherwise. And so interning with iHeartRadio, when I got out of college, it was about 2 months after I graduated. So for 2 months, I was sitting there at my parents' house, unemployed, unsure of what life was supposed to look like past college.
You seem like so one thing that you guys know this by now is whenever I have anyone in the studio, it's always kind of like, it's like quick dating. I don't get to know them very much, so we kind of have to go with each other just right off the rip here. But it seems like you are very much in your mind, and not only, I don't use the term manifest because you can manifest all you want. I can manifest $1 million, but if you don't work towards it, you'll never get the mill.
It takes both, yes.
Exactly, yeah. But it seems like you're very driven, because the fact that I've seen you in K-State, you had a news channel that you were on. And
God, you found the old school clips.
Old school stuff. But you've been in front of the camera. You feel comfortable in front of the camera. But then it seems like you have this drive within you to say, hey, I got to keep moving. I got to keep going.
Yes. I always like to be challenged. Even now at this point in my career, I'm like, okay, what's the next thing? What's coming? I've learned a lot as I've gotten older that I need to sit with things a little bit more because it's important to really be present in those moments, not focus on the future so much. But so much of my personality is very much driven. Is
it the same way in relationships too? So I'm curious about this because I've seen a few clips of you on the Bobby Bones Show. We'll get to the Bobby Bones Show in a second, guys. All right, I got you. But it seems as if that, you know, in relationships, do you usually take the lead?
So far I have.
Really?
Yes. You know, it's really funny. I have been in at least all of my past relationships the take charge one. But ironically, it's not actually what I want for my future marriage. I actually want to be the one that steps back a little bit and lets them take charge, or at least it be 50-50. So far, it's been like 80-20.
We're in Nashville.
Yeah.
What do you expect? Nashville?
Yeah, okay.
No disrespect to anyone out there, guys in Nashville, man, but if you meet these people out in Tin Roof or things like that, no disrespect to losers or winners or anything like that, but you got to find these people up in the rooftops of somewhere nice and somewhere fancy. Usually those are the ones that
You know, I'm not even confident in the rooftops anymore at this point.
Oh, gosh, which one's your favorite?
Favorite rooftop?
In Nashville.
Currently, probably Virgin.
Okay, well, speaking about everything when waking up early in the morning, we're going to go to the transition of you going to the Bobby Bones Show.
Yeah.
After this quick break.
Wintertime is almost over. Spring is on the way. So, fellas, it's time to pull out your junk and assess the damage. Trim those hedges, mow those lawns, and no, I'm not talking about grass. I'm talking about what's in between your Manscaped new Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra is every man's cheat code to look good, feel good, and turn the page on confidence this year. Whether you're going for a trim or that clean-shaven look, this trimmer has you covered. Go to manscaped.com, use the code GULCH20 for 20% off plus free shipping.
Let's go. Okay. So Morgan, I am very interested to know where the connection came from for you being Morgan number 2 at the Bobby Bones Show.
So I was working for iHeartRadio in Wichita. About 10 months into that job, there was a job opening for a similar but a little bit bigger role in Nashville. I saw it on our iHeart website and I was like, I'm going to apply for that. Applied for it, got it. My interview for that job was actually my first time ever in Nashville.
That's fun.
And I went and ate at Tin Roof by myself, sitting at the bar. I had a beer and a grilled cheese. And I was just looking around. I was like, okay, can I live my life here? And Tin Roof has made a lot of decisions for me when I first moved here. Not so much anymore. But it was a big impact on me coming to Nashville.
Demumbrium or downtown?
No, Demumbrium.
Okay, that's very important to know.
It is
if
very,
you're downtown Tin Roof, that's... Yeah, you were going through some things.
I did not explore Broadway by myself for the first time.
Okay, cool.
Just Demumbrian. And I got that job in Nashville as the iHeartRadio digital director. I was overseeing 6 radio stations and all of their digital assets in Nashville. And I was working in that job for about 10 months. That job was in the same building as the Bobby Bones Show. And that show was on one of the stations that I was a digital director of. And so I had some times that I was working with them, but never super closely. And then the role of digital director opened on the Bobby Bones Show. And I had just spoken to my bosses about, like, these are things that I potentially want to do. If I can explore it in the company, I'd love to. And it just was the right timing. And so for 2 weeks, I sat in on the Bobby Bones Show, and basically, like, it was like a test each other out thing. Like, how does she fit with everybody? Do people like her? Does she like doing this? It's super early mornings. And after that 2-week trial, Bobby was like, yeah, she's good. If you want to take the job, we'd love to offer it to you. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I was and still am the youngest on our show. And so my insight as being the youngest started to play a role on air a little bit here and there. And we had another Morgan, who was our executive producer. And so I was told I can't be just Morgan. And I pitched out some different names, like some of my middle names. And I pitched out different ideas. They're like, no, we're going to go with Morgan number 2. And I was like, okay. I'm
curious, from your personality, which we talked about a second ago, is very much go-getter type. On that show, you play that backup role. Like, you really do play the more listening type, and not necessarily has it always been that way? And then number 2, how does it feel to have the name Morgan number 2?
I don't like the name Morgan number 2.
At least I wondered.
Yeah, and we have slowly transitioned away from it because Morgan has changed into a more management role for Bobby. She's no longer a part of our main show. And so when that happened, I was like, okay, I would officially like to have my name back to just Morgan. And slowly but surely it's transitioned, but it's still there. It still lingers. And when people see me out in public, it's still, hey, it's Morgan number 2. It's just kind of become part of the personality now. But when people say number 2, there's not a lot of great things associated with it. So that's the reason I don't particularly like it. But I've grown accustomed to it, and I enjoy what it gave me.
Oh, absolutely.
A way of saying it. And then as far as joining the show, I knew when I joined that show that my role was the digital director, but I also knew that this was a great opportunity for me, whether I stayed or it was a couple years or forever. It was a great job to go into. And so it wasn't necessarily that I needed to be on camera or anything. I was just really excited about the opportunity that was coming. Mm-hmm. And then it just naturally turned into an aspect of some more on-air opportunities presented themselves throughout the course of me being there with the show going on over 6 years now.
And shout out to that, because that's amazing. I'm so inspired by that, because what it shows everyone and the viewers, right, is that you are always putting that bet on yourself. You're going to that next role, the next stage, and it brought you in front of someone who's going to go. Is he not already in the Hall of Fame?
Oh yeah, he is.
He's already in the Hall of Fame.
I think he joined. It was like my first year with the show.
That's my point.
He's the youngest.
And he's the youngest, the biggest timest. That is a word that I'm going to put in the dictionary right there. Now, on the media side of the Bobby Bones Show, what do you produce?
So I oversee all of our social media platforms, our channel on iHeartRadio for the podcast, and our website, and anything else that gets additionally thrown in to the digital side. And of course, advertising and social media marketing and all of that kind of things. It's kind of all, it's a tiny little bow on a whole lot of things.
You're gaining that experience, but also I can see that, do you ever want to be in front of the camera?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
hosting.
Yeah. I love, and I've gotten to do some really cool things with Circle Network. I've done hosting for a TV show on there, and I loved it.
Oh, and I saw also that you're a pretty good chef.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. That's to be determined. But are you a pretty good chef?
I'm a great chef.
Okay, fair enough.
But I am vegetarian, so very specific in my chef abilities.
Really? So no meat?
No. Wow. I went vegetarian when I was 8 years old.
Wow. Wow.
Very determined little girl.
Man, that is challenging. I couldn't imagine. I just ate Chick-fil-A just a couple hours ago, so I can't do that. But
yeah, I am not a Chick-fil-A girl.
That's not your pleasure.
Yeah.
So there it is. Now, my question is, when you think about what you are doing today, and at some point transitioning, you're already starting to transition with the Circle Network. And how much do you enjoy being in front of the camera, though?
Oh, I love it. I mean, that's been the beginning of when I got into broadcast journalism, it's what I wanted to do. And the really cool thing with being part of the show is that everything we do is videoed. So there is a component there of being on camera, but I would love to explore being on some type of TV show, whatever that looks like, whether I'm hosting, whether I'm participating. Participating is
a new word in the Webster.
I don't really care. I love that side of things more than anything. I've just always really enjoyed connecting with people. And I felt like TV is such a great way to do that because that was, again, before social media, before everything we know today about the digital media space. TV was the way that you spoke to people. It was the way you connected. It was how you related to people. And so I just love the form of TV compared to all the others. It's more nostalgic for me in a sense because I've gotten to do a lot of cool stuff with it, but I hope to continue in a different way of doing it, whether it's through streaming and however they see it. I would love to explore those opportunities.
Storytelling. That's what you're good at, is giving your story, giving your perspective on a story and being able to grow an audience and bring them all together. Speaking about that, you started to gain your own following, right? So you already are an influencer. And I mean, talk to me about the challenges of creating your own content by yourself, phone up, and creating, so many different avenues from TikTok to Instagram. What's your favorite platform to use right now?
Oh, I love Threads, honestly.
Do you really?
I'm enjoying the new app.
Me too. I'm a little salty on Threads, though. Or Heart of the Gulch is a little too salty on Threads.
Oh, you kind of have an alter ego?
Did you read my notes?
Yeah, but I'm just making sure.
You're reading she's reading my screen. That's my question I'm going to ask you.
I did not see that.
Okay, wait a second. Don't ask my question. That was going to be my question. No. Morgan, do you have an alter ego?
I will say I have different personas. When I am on air and I am doing social media stuff, I'm definitely an authentic version of myself. Mm-hmm. But it's definitely like if there is an explicit and a clean version, I'm more clean. You're
more clean. Well, because you have to be.
Yeah. The Bobby Bones Show is very family friendly. I love that because I love that I've gotten to connect with a lot of young women and that's so cool. And I want to keep that. I love that side of it. But I'm pretty chaotic and I'm also pretty adventurous and I love to have a good time. And so that side of Morgan is a little bit not as much out there.
What's that? What would you call that other side of Morgan if she had to give her a name?
If she had a name, it'd probably be my middle name, which is Lane, Layne. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we got a game real quick. And the game, yeah, that's right. I was going to do it. And it is, so you said it's Morgan and Lane, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I'm curious. You tell me if this question is Morgan or if it's Lane. All right. So tell me if this is correct. Morgan and Lane, what's Morgan's favorite drink?
Morgan's favorite drink would probably be a Sprite or a cherry limeade.
What's Lane's favorite drink?
High noon on a middle of the day Saturday, or a vodka Sprite Saturday night on Broadway.
Okay. I want to know, what is Morgan's guiltiest pleasure when it comes to food?
Oh, food. Grilled cheeses. I love grilled cheeses.
Really?
Yes, they're my jam, especially an elevated grilled cheese. You make it all special. Yeah, that's my thing.
All right. What's Lane's?
Ooh, probably every dessert that exists in the world.
Anything particular?
I really love donuts. Big chocolate cake fan. Cookie. I mean, really, no. I'll eat about any dessert.
How many cavities does Lane have?
She's got a lot. She's got a lot. And the more even funny side of that is I do not like fruit or you know when they put like the fruit along with desserts? Not a fan. Apple pie doesn't taste like fruit. But any other fruit you start putting on things, I'm like, this is not dessert.
I love how that music came in right on cue right there. All right, and then last question I got. So, what is Morgan's superpower?
Oh, she's incredibly compassionate.
What's Lane's?
She's very adventurous.
I love it. I love it. Okay. What do you think of the background music? That was the first time I tried that background music. I thought it was a little funny.
Again, wasn't sure if I was going to be murdered or not, but we're here for it.
Set the tone. Set the tone right. You asked me what was my alternative ego, and then you freaked me out because I was like, whoa, wait a second. That was part of the show that you weren't ready for.
I like to spin it around. That's what makes a good storyteller.
Exactly. So, like I said, you've been enjoying Threads.
Love it.
What is it about Threads that you like more than Twitter?
Well, I don't know. I feel like I can be Lane on Threads. I can be more chaotic. I can be a little, who cares what's going to happen? Particularly right now. And I know this is going to come out airing like
later.
And by the time then, Threads could either be gone or it could blow up.
I think Lane,
Really?
I think that Threads is going to be one of those platforms where it already started to lose viewership, but it's just one of those things where, you know, it's too similar. That's what it comes down to.
Well, I think if there was one to win between Twitter and Threads, I hope Thread wins.
Well, why? Because it's connected more to your Instagram?
No, because Twitter is a dumpster fire in a lot of ways. And over time has already kind of run its course. And I feel like Threads is like the new younger sister coming in like ready to go. And if one's probably going to outlast the other, I think it might be Threads.
Okay, well, hey, I guess we'll figure that out as time goes
I might eat my words.
We both might actually, because Threads may be thriving at that point.
True, and Twitter could also
Threads.
be thriving.
Yeah. What do you know? Well, okay, so then, like I said, you have a great following. And not only a great following, it seems like you have questions. There's so many people that ask you questions and that are inspired by you. I mean, what area of social media do you find you connecting most with those fans? Is it TikTok, Instagram? What would you say?
Probably Instagram. I feel like Facebook is a lot of my moms and dads that like to check in on me, make sure I'm still alive and kicking and doing everything
Or those
good.
high school friends that you haven't seen in a long time.
Yes, but on my my professional I don't think I've gone to my personal Facebook page in like 5 years. I have a professional Facebook page, and that's all of the listeners who are like my second moms and dads who are like, hey, you good? Or if I post like a selfie too close to an edge, they're like, girl, you're too close. They're my looking out for me crowd. And then Instagram is definitely more of the overarching, all types of ages, all different types of people, and I can connect with more people on Instagram.
Do you like that you've been able to leverage, you know, not only your name, but also the following to bring more opportunities? Because that wasn't a thing when we were growing. We had no idea that, you know, Instagram was you're going to able to, you know, create different avenues of stream of income. But is it pretty cool now that you can say like, hey, I can leverage what I have, my viewership, and I can do something completely different?
Yeah, no, it's really awesome. I think it's cool to know that there are opportunities that exist beyond just ideas that you might have had for yourself. And I feel like social media has done that for a lot of people. It's just, I probably wouldn't have ever done this, but I'm going to do it because now I have that opportunity. Why wouldn't I try it?
Absolutely. Okay, so real quick, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we have a section called Crowd Noise. Crowd Noise is when fans of you ask you questions.
So you got like one question, right?
I got two.
Okay.
I know it was a little bit better than what you originally thought, but I couldn't get 3. I don't know what it was, but anyway, we'll be right back.
Morgan, what's been your most embarrassing moment on the Bobby Bones show?
Oh, there's 2 that come to mind.
All right, give it to me.
So the show found out that I did want to be a singer once upon a time, and I got tasked with having to sing a karaoke song, like, for real on the show. And this is all the way after the fact that I have decided I'm not going to be a singer. I know I don't have that talent. I cried before and after the segment because I was so nervous, and I knew I was going to be bad, and I knew that people were going to make fun of me, and I just knew it was coming, and I did. I mean, listen, people could have done much worse. It wasn't that bad, but like to this day, I have not watched. It's on YouTube, and to this day, I have not watched that segment back and refuse to. And if anybody brings it up, I'm like, stop talking. We're not going there.
And what would be your second most embarrassing?
I had to go on a blind date with a guy who called into the show and was flying in from California to go out with me.
Who set that one up?
Bobby. I mean, the show.
Bobby set that one up. That one seems kind of intense.
So, and it wasn't necessarily like set up. Like this guy called in. Just a listener called in, was like, you know, I had talked a lot about my dating life, dating woes, ups and downs. And he was like, I'd love to take Morgan out. I would totally fly in and take her out on a date. And at the time I was like, oh yeah, funny, whatever, I'll do it. Didn't realize it was going to be serious, and it did happen. And he did fly into Nashville, and he took me on a date. And the whole time I'm like, great, this is where I die. This is where I get murdered, and it's going to be a whole national story. But it ended up being okay, and I made our security guard with the show like tag along as like a little spy.
That's
in
smart.
the corner.
I like that.
Yeah, I was like, hey, I think he's okay. I mean, we did pretty much vet him and whatnot.
You have to.
Yeah, but it was definitely a very awkward. And then I had to turn him down on air, which was also very uncomfortable because it was not a sparks fly moment. It was not.
But that's the beauty of the show. Now, you said that, you know, having so many different segments and having going through, you know, years now on the Bobby Bones show. I mean, what's one pinch me moment that you've had that has just been like, you know, wow, I can't believe, you know, 12-year-old me or 20-year-old me would never believe that this is happening right now.
I mean, it was my first day on the show. My first official day on the show, Shania Twain was in.
Oh, yeah.
And I nearly peed my pants sitting in the corner. I'm just sitting there on my computer, and I'm like, this is really happening. I mean, Shania Twain was my idol. She was my first concert I went to. I mean, everything she did, I loved. Mm-hmm. And she's still one of my favorite artists to this day. And so when she walked in and it was my first day, I was like, what is happening?
She's getting younger.
Yeah.
She's not
like aging backwards.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Now, talk to me about, I talked to this about Brooke Taylor, about Taylor Swift coming into town.
Yes.
Talk to me about where were you, and did you have to deal with the Swifties out in Nashville?
Well, I went to Taylor Swift's concert.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
So I dealt with all the Swifties. There was, however many Nissan Stadium fits.
What era were you?
I was the Reputation era.
The Reputation era.
Yes. I had my snakes and black leather and everything ready to go. And she, you know, Taylor Swift is such an entertainer, and she's so good at what she does. And you want to talk about just brilliant entrepreneur and like driven woman, it's Taylor Swift.
Not only musicians, like Kim Kardashian's a great example of this. Everyone gives Kim Kardashian a lot of hate. But when you really think about how many people she's responsible for, like seriously responsible for, and every move that she makes is really strategic, that's the same thing with Taylor Swift. People may really bash her on, I guess, I don't know too much about Taylor Swift, but I know that she has gone through her dating woes, but it could be strategic. Tell me that all her music isn't coming out and being even better than before.
I mean, it is. And you know what? Listen, as far as anything strategic, I would not put anything past Taylor Swift. Everything she does is a science. Like, she has figured out every twist and turn that could possibly happen. Heck, she could probably predict the future and she'd probably be right. That's how good she is at things. And Kim Kardashian is the same way. I'm with you. You know, the world loves to hate a powerful woman, and both of them are very powerful and they're very good at what they do. And they figured it out, you know, and that's a lot more than a lot of us can say. And I think it's so cool to watch and get to be in a life that I get to exist when these people who are so good at that, and I get to be like, okay, I can keep aspiring to that. At least I always have something to aspire to.
Both of them started in the limelight in very different ways. Let's just put it that way. Now,
They did.
did you cry when you went to the Taylor Swift show?
I did not cry.
You didn't cry?
No.
Oh, come on. Then are you a true Swiftie then because you didn't cry?
I am a true Swiftie. You know, I met Taylor Swift before she blew up. So if anybody can recall the very beginning of Taylor Swift, when she hit the CMAs and she won all those awards, that was like the turning point of Taylor Swift's career. And before that, in Wichita, I had gone to a concert for free. There's 100 people in the room to watch Taylor Swift and to meet her, say hi to her, everything. We have a picture with her. Our tickets are signed. She complimented our sundresses and cowboy boots that we had on. And I think about that often because I was in high school, about to go in high school at the time. And I'm like, here's this person who was around my same age.
Yep.
And look at her now. And look at me now. And I just am like, that's so crazy. Both of us were sitting here in a tiny theater for free, watching her perform, do something she loved. And she on some level inspired where I am today and moving to Nashville and chasing your dreams. And I just think about that moment a lot of getting to meet her before she blew up and who she was and what she's accomplished since then.
You have to have people also come at you the wrong way too. And in many different ways, from callers to Instagram to you name it. There's going to be people always giving you a response, right? And one of my questions I always ask people is, how do you deal with it? And how do you not let it get to you?
Oh, some days it gets to me. Like, let's just be honest. I would love to say, no, it doesn't get to me. I have really thick skin. I do. But there are days when something happens and it will deplete my entire day. I think it's really easy to want to tear people down, especially when people are very insecure. And that's what trolls do, right? They come from this place that's very insecure, and it's really sad when you think about the behind the scenes of that. But one of them that stuck out was just like that I needed, much like Taylor Swift, I needed to stop talking about being single, and I needed to move on from my mom and dad helping me. And on so many levels, it was so wrong because this is a person who doesn't know me. I create content about being single because, heck, I'm going through it, and a lot of people are too.
And it works.
My whole thing, when I've always created content, when I've always done anything, is like, if I can impact one person, I'm doing great. I feel great about that. And so much of the dating content that I create, people really connect with. And I always get so many messages about it. Like, thank you for doing this, or thank you for talking about it. Especially the more vulnerable stuff, not as much my more comedy routines about being single. But, and on top of that, the aspect of like, stay away from your family. I'm like, honestly, the best thing I can do is stay near my family because it's going to keep me who I am. The moment that I drift from them or don't spend time with them, then we have a problem. It's not me spending too much time with my family, since when is that a problem?
And it's, think about the term trolls, right? Trolls are things that stay underneath the bridge and they're not outside walking the bridge.
Yep. They
just come out and they try to grab you that are walking away. But anyway, we got one more question. Let's keep it light.
You don't want to keep talking about trolls?
I love trolls. Don't get it twisted. You can come at me, but you'll never meet me in my face because you won't do it.
Hey, they say if you have haters, you're successful, so.
Okay, let's get on to the second question of Crowd
Okay.
Noise.
A chance to host your own show, what would be the topics and who would be your first guest?
Oh, that's a great question. Totally. I definitely would. Like, there's not an opportunity that I would ever turn down. I'd always explore anything that comes at me. That's just part of wanting to grow and be challenged all the time. And it would absolutely be a cool experience and a challenge to host my own show. And I would really talk about... I love talking about food. Food would be definitely a topic, because if there's one thing I've realized in content creating is food is the one thing that connects everybody, and not one time do you deal with a lot of haters when you're talking about food.
It's true.
Definitely talk about the dating culture and just relationships and explore that, and funny stories. I love hearing funny dating stories, and I think they're the best part about having to be single, and especially in big cities. The horror stories that I hear are my favorite. So dating stories across the board, and music. I love exploring how people got to where they are and finding these stories about them that are kind of unheard of and making them talk about things that make them more on a human level instead of just, your new single. Let's talk about that. You have to. I mean, that's part of it. But I really just want to explore more with people of like humanizing all these celebrities and famous people that we know. Like, okay, human to human level, if I was your friend, what does this look like?
I think that's the hardest part, is because every interviewer wants to be that person to ask that question, to be that type of person for the interviewee. So it's very challenging to make yourself different in this world, and that's what I'm learning here in the Heart of the Gulch. Now, who would be your first guest?
Oh.
Or at least the top 3 guests. Top 3.
Okay, top 3 guests. I would say Chris Evans.
Okay.
Massive superhero fan, so I love the Marvel stuff, and he is an original OG.
An OG.
Who else?
Good looking guy too. That's the good looking one, right? That's, that's
very attractive.
Captain America, right? Okay, I'm just making sure.
Blake Lively.
Really? Okay.
Big fan of hers, and I love her, not only her relationship that she has with Ryan Reynolds and her family and the way that she's gone about that, but she's also an insanely powerful woman and very successful, and she's done a lot of things in her career. So exploring that and what that looks like. She was a
heartthrob when we were growing up.
Oh, she still is. Yeah, talk about aging backwards.
Yeah.
It's her. And then I think I would love to explore an interview with Shania Twain because she is my favorite. Either Shania Twain or Dolly. Those two are very much icons for me, and I think I would just literally love to have a best friend chat with them.
Then if you're talking Nashville, right? Nashville, there's a few people in Nashville that I would consider the top of the crop, which would be obviously Dolly, Bobby, and a few others that are just Chef Brock. Cannot forget about Chef Brock.
Okay, I don't know who Chef Brock is.
But you know his spots though.
Oh, what are his spots?
Audrey, I think is one of them.
You said I know his spots, and then you're sitting here thinking about
because
his spots.
Look. I love buying good food, but there's a price point that I just do not explore enough, and that's Chef Brock's price point. But
he's what we call a bougie chef.
He is what you call a bougie chef.
Okay,
and it's nothing wrong with that. There's times and places for that. Just not on my daily.
There's never times and places for me because most of the time, if I can go somewhere and not read the menu, I give up pretty quickly.
Okay, now speaking of last couple questions here, you love making food and you love creating stuff in the kitchen, right? What's the one thing you will not touch?
Meat.
Well, yes, but outside of meat, just like one thing that you're like, I have no chances of making that good.
I don't think it's a dish because I'll always explore a dish. But I have not found the perfect pancake recipe. I'm still working on that.
Really?
Well,
what is the perfect pancake for you?
Well, the problem is it has to be gluten-free, and that's very hard to make pancakes with. So I'm trying to find the perfect gluten-free pancake recipe. And the ingredient that I really hate and I will not do anything with, and I don't understand why it's added as a topping on a lot of dishes, is cilantro. I hate cilantro.
Why does everyone hate cilantro? A lot of people don't like cilantro.
Yeah, I'm not a fan.
I guess because it has such a unique flavor and it's always on top of things, messing up the whole thing.
Always on top, and I always have to move it.
What are you looking forward to the rest of 2023 and the top of 2024?
Well, I'm a big travel girl, and I've been trying to. My goal, at least within the next 5 years, is to make sure I've seen all 50 states.
Okay.
And so I keep planning a lot of trips and making very big use of my time and my long weekends and all of that. So I'm excited to see what trips I will come up with because I plan some crazy things.
What's been one area of the United States you have not explored?
I just got to explore for the first time the west side of the United States. I just went to Utah for the first time and loved it. And by the time this will come out, I will have gone to Yellowstone National Park and explored Wyoming and a lot of those areas up there. But the West is the one that I'm trying to get to because I've explored Northeast. I'm obviously from the Midwest. I live down in the South. So the West is where I've been aiming a lot of my sights on. You go to my Instagram, I got all the itineraries.
Let them know. Give them the Instagram and everything.
At Web Girl Morgan is what I am on everything.
On everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So the way that we set up the day in the life, we call it Walk the Line. Think of Johnny Cash, the song Walk the Line.
Okay.
You look straight into that camera right there. You say your name, obviously your Instagram or where you work, whichever one, and say, this is how I walk the line. and everyone will get to see a day in your life.
Okay.
All right, you ready to go?
I think so, yeah.
After the applause.
I'm Morgan Huelsman, and this is how I walk the line.
Hey, Morgan.
Hey y'all, it's Morgan from the Bobby Bones Show, and I'm here at some of my coworkers' live podcasting event. It's the Sore Losers, and I'm about to meet some awesome listeners. This is how I walk the line.
If you're from where? Michigan. But what if you're from Florida?
They're from South Beach.
What if you're from South Beach, Ray? You just made my point for me. Morgan, get up here. Come on, Morgan. Everybody clap this
Guys, this is going to be our random introduction of Morgan. Morgan, get up here, girl. Come here, talk on this microphone. Oh my, no, you can't. You can't. It does give you swag though with the sunglasses. I did the last convention with sunglasses. Sometimes it gives you a look in the world.
You can't see anything in these. Like,
Yeah.
do we really have to tell everybody?
Or you could have just said, no, I don't, and just denied it.
I'm not good at lying. If we have learned anything about me, I am not a good liar. No, we're not doing this.
Guys, she's not going to tell you where. Just know that she's going on a date.
And no, I dressed up for all of you guys. They just don't know how to dress up.
What do you mean we don't know how to dress up?
You're wearing a hoodie. You're wearing a
Oh,
hoodie.
great.
Do you see what I'm wearing though? Day one. Day ones.
I've been here
The
since
guy
day
that made
one.
the sweatshirt is in the crowd.
Ray's a little bit more dressed up than you, but
But I'm showing
dressed up
love.
for you guys here, okay?
There he
Wait, you didn't answer my question.
I did. I told you I was at
That's
FGL
not
house.
how
I
it
saw her
went.
across the bar and I said, get your tongue in my mouth. That's
No,
it.
I'll tell you the first story. It was when they were at, what is it? What's the bar in Austin outside? It's a concert venue, and you guys stayed the night in the car.
No, that wasn't our first kiss.
It's just awkward. You really
Like,
just
how do you? I don't
Well, I did
understand
have
what
a
you
guy
mean.
ask if I wanted to hold his hand. That was a little weird.
Okay.
How would you guys do
he
somebody asked you?
He asked you if he could hold your hand.
Yeah, he's like, do you mind if I hold your hand? And I was like,
Oh, I bet you Kelsey has to ask
see,
Taylor,
listen,
can I hold your
consent is
hand?
sexy, I get it.
Kelsey, Taylor, can I hold your hand? Can I put my arm around you?
I got a question for Morgan really quick. So if a dude was like, hey, go to a Preds game tonight because you're going on a date,
Yeah.
would you have been down with that? The date?
Yeah, I love going to sports games. I just don't like watching them all day. I get really bored.
Sports games.
That's how I get